Mr. Kelvin was a wealthy businessman who lived in a grand mansion in the city. His life was surrounded by luxury, expensive cars, fine suits, and endless business meetings. But beneath all that power, he carried a heavy loneliness. His wife had passed away years ago, and though he had everything money could buy, his heart was empty. One day, a new house help arrived at the mansion. Her name was Anita. She was young, beautiful, and unusually bold for a maid. Unlike the other workers, she didn't lower her eyes in fear when Kelvin spoke. She looked at him directly, with a soft smile that seemed to whisper secrets. From the first day, there was something mysterious about her. Anita was different. She moved gracefully, spoke politely, and always found ways to be near her boss. When Kelvin came home tired, Anita would say softly, "Sir, you look stressed. Let me prepare a special tea for you." When he worked late in his study, she would bring food without being asked, whispering, "You need your strength, sir." When he passed by, she would let her perfume linger in the air, a fragrance he couldn't forget. Soon, Kelvin began to notice her more than he should. He would catch himself staring at her while she cleaned the house. He began to enjoy her presence, her laughter, and even the way her eyes sparkled whenever she spoke. The other staff noticed it too. They whispered, "The master is falling under Anita's spell." Days turned into weeks, and Anita's charm grew stronger. She wasn't just a maid anymore. She became Kelvin's comfort. If he was angry, her gentle words calmed him. If he was sad, her smile lifted his spirit. If he was lonely, her presence filled the emptiness in his heart. But behind Anita's charm was a hidden motive. She wasn't in the mansion just to work. She had a plan. She wanted to rise above her poor background, and she saw Kelvin as her golden ticket. So she used her beauty, her sweetness, and her intelligence like weapons. One night, Kelvin's childhood friend, Mr. Patrick, visited the mansion. Over dinner, Patrick leaned close and whispered, "Kelvin, be careful. I see the way your maid looks at you. That girl is not ordinary. She's using charm on you." Kelvin laughed it off. "Don't be ridiculous, Patrick. She's just a kind girl." But deep inside he felt unsettled. Was it true? Was Anita charming him? Or was it genuine affection? Anita knew Patrick was suspicious of her, so she moved faster. One rainy evening, when Kelvin returned soaked from a meeting, Anita met him at the door with a towel. She gently wiped his face, her eyes locking into his. "Sir," she whispered, her voice trembling as if from emotion, "sometimes I feel like I was brought into this house for a reason, not just as a maid." Kelvin's heart pounded. He couldn't resist anymore. He felt drawn to her like a moth to flame. He didn't realize it, but he was already trapped in her charm. After weeks of Anita's charm and temptation, Kelvin's loneliness finally broke him. One night, after a long business trip, he came home exhausted. Anita was waiting. She spoke softly, her eyes glistening in the dim light. "Sir, you've carried so much pain. Let me take care of you tonight." Her words were like honey, her touch like fire. For the first time in years, Kelvin allowed himself to fall, not into love, but into desire. That night he slept with her. First he thought it was love blossoming. He treated her gently, gave her everything she asked for, and whispered promises into her ears. But Anita, lying beside him, only stared at the ceiling. A cold thought ran through her mind. This wasn't supposed to happen. I pray I don't get pregnant. 2 weeks later, Anita finds out she have missed her period. She quickly rushes out to a pharmacy to get a pregnancy test. It was 2 bold lines glared at it. Her breath came in sharp gasps. She pressed her palm against her stomach as if the life inside her was an enemy. No, this can't be happening. This wasn't my plan. I wanted his wealth, not his child. Panic flooded her veins. She decided instantly. Kelvin could never know. If he found out, it would ruin everything. He would want marriage, commitment, a family. And Anita wanted none of that. All she wanted was his fortune. Anita began plotting. She would pretend nothing was wrong, hide the signs, and quietly arrange for an abortion before Kelvin discovered the truth. She wore looser clothes to hide her stomach. She skipped meals at the mansion, pretending she wasn't hungry. She even pretended to be sick so Kelvin wouldn't notice her morning nausea. But no matter how hard she tried, her body betrayed her. She grew pale, tired, and her glow was fading. Kelvin noticed. One evening, Kelvin came home and found Anita sitting on the couch, her hand unconsciously resting on her stomach. "Anita," he said slowly, "are you feeling unwell? You've been tired lately." She forced a smile. "It's nothing, sir. Just stress. I'll be fine." But Kelvin wasn't convinced. He watched her closely over the next few days. He noticed how she rushed to the bathroom in the mornings, how her appetite had changed, and how her body seemed different. The truth began to dawn on him. One night, after dinner, Kelvin confronted her gently. "Anita," he said, staring directly into her eyes, "you're pregnant, aren't you?" The fork slipped from her hand and clattered against the plate. Her lips parted, but no words came out. "I've seen the signs," Kelvin continued, his voice firm but trembling with emotion. "The nausea, the exhaustion, the way you touch your stomach when you think no one is looking. Stop lying to me. You're carrying my child." Tears welled in Anita's eyes. She stood up abruptly, shouting, "I didn't want this. This child was never part of my plan. I was going to get rid of it before you ever found out." Kelvin's world spun. His knees went weak. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Get rid of it," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Anita, that's my child. The only chance I've had to be a father again. Do you realize what you're saying?" Anita covered her face, sobbing. "You don't understand. I didn't want this baby. I wanted freedom, wealth, a better life. A child will chain me forever. I can't do this." Kelvin grabbed her shoulders, his eyes fierce. "No, Anita. You may not want this baby, but I do. That child is innocent. It has no fault in your lies or your greed. You can hate me, you can hate this life, but you will not destroy that baby." From that night on, Kelvin made sure Anita was watched carefully. He hired doctors, ensured she ate properly, and guarded her like a hawk. Anita felt trapped, her secret plan destroyed. She had tried to hide the pregnancy, to erase it before it changed her life. But Kelvin had seen through her. For the first time, she realized her charm and deceit had limits. She could control a man's heart, but not the truth growing inside her. Anita sat alone in her room, pacing back and forth. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against her stomach. The pregnancy was no longer a secret. Kelvin had already found out. But one truth still haunted her. David. The man she had been secretly meeting. The man who whispered promises of wealth and escape. The man who had pushed her into Kelvin's arms, convincing her to charm him. But now, she was carrying Kelvin's child. His brother's child. Anita bit her lip, tears welling in her eyes. "How do I tell David this? How do I tell him I failed?" She remembered his words the last time they met in secret. "Anita, once you secure Kelvin's fortune, we'll finally be free. He doesn't deserve all that money. It should be ours." It sounded so perfect, so convincing. But now everything was broken. She sat at her desk and began writing a letter, but her hands shook too much. Finally, she gathered courage and arranged to meet him in the abandoned garden at the far end of the coal estate. When David arrived, his eyes lit up at the sight of her. But the moment he noticed her pale face and trembling hands, his smile faded. "What's wrong, Anita?" he asked. Her lips quivered. "David, I'm pregnant." For a moment, silence hung between them. His eyes narrowed. "Pregnant?" She nodded, her tears falling. "It's Kelvin's." David's face twisted with shock, then fury. He stepped back, running a hand through his hair. No, this can't be. That wasn't the plan, Anita. You were supposed to control him, drain his wealth, and leave." Not this. I didn't mean for it to happen, Anita whispered desperately. I was going to hide it, I was even planning to. Don't say it, David snapped. His voice dripped with disappointment. Do you realize what you've done? You've ruined everything. With a child in the picture, Kelvin will tie you to him forever. Our plan is finished. Anita fell to her knees, clutching his hand. David, please don't leave me. We can still find a way. Maybe we can pretend the child is yours. David yanked his hand away, his eyes cold. Don't be foolish. If Kelvin finds out you were with me, his own stepbrother, he'll destroy us both. Do you understand? You've trapped us. And all because you couldn't control yourself. Anita's heart broke. The man she thought would stand by her was turning his back on her. She whispered broken. I did it all for us, but now, I've lost everything. David's jaw tightened. No, Anita. I lost everything because of you. With that, he stormed away, leaving her kneeling in the garden, sobbing under the moonlight. Now Anita was alone. She couldn't rely on David, and Kelvin's love had turned into suspicion. She was trapped between two brothers, one who wanted her for love, and one who had used her for greed. But one question haunted her night and day. Broken heart when the truth comes out, that she was having an affair with Kelvin's stepbrother. What will happen to her, the child, and the Cole family? She cried as she went back to her room. Kelvin notices that Anita was always leaving the house at night. His suspicions grew like a fire that refused to die. Even though Anita tried to hide her meeting, the trust always leaves a trace. One night, Kelvin followed her when she thought everyone was asleep. He watched from the shadows as Anita met with David, his own stepbrother. David, Anita whispered, her voice breaking. I'm sorry. I never wanted this baby. It ruined everything. David sighed angrily. You've trapped us both. If Kelvin finds out, we're finished. Kelvin staggered back, his chest tightening. The woman he thought he loved, the woman carrying his child, was plotting with his brother. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. The next morning, Kelvin stormed into the mansion hall where David sat, pretending to read. Without a word, Kelvin slammed him against the wall. You traitor! Kelvin roared, his fists clenched. My own blood. My stepbrother. You've been sleeping with her behind my back. David tried to defend himself. Kelvin, listen. But Kelvin's rage consumed him. They fought brutally, crashing into tables and chairs. Servants screamed and tried to pull them apart, but Kelvin's fury was unstoppable. Finally, with blood on his lip and fire in his eyes, Kelvin spat. You're no brother of mine. You will rot for what you've done. That same day, David was handed over to the authorities for fraud and betrayal of family trust. Kelvin made sure his stepbrother was locked behind bars, far away from the mansion, far away from Anita. As for Anita, Kelvin's heart was too shattered to forgive. He stood before her with cold, merciless eyes. You came into my house with lies. You touched my loneliness with fake love. You destroyed the only bond of brotherhood I had left. You don't deserve my name, my wealth, or my home. Anita fell to her knees, begging. Kelvin, please. I never meant to hurt you. Give me another chance. I have nothing without you. But Kelvin turned away. And that is exactly what you'll be left with. Nothing. That evening, Anita was thrown out of the mansion. No money. No gift. No shelter. Only the clothes she wore and the pain of her own choices. Months later, under the roof of a small rented room, Anita gave birth. She held her newborn baby in her arms, tears streaming down her cheeks. But instead of joy, her heart was filled with regret. The child's cries reminded her of everything she had lost. The mansion, the luxury, the man who truly loved the baby even when she didn't. She whispered bitterly, I wanted fortune, but I gave birth to my own punishment. News reached Kelvin. Despite his anger at Anita, he couldn't ignore the innocent life that had come into the world. One rainy evening, Kelvin arrived at the shabby house where Anita stayed. He walked in, towering over her. His eyes fixed not on her, but on the tiny baby in her arms. Without a word, he took the child gently, holding it close to his chest. For the first time in years, tears welled in his eyes. "This child," he whispered, "is mine, and I will give it the life it deserves." Anita, weak from childbirth and broken by her own greed, sobbed as Kelvin turned to leave. "Kelvin, please don't take my baby," she begged. Kelvin paused at the door, his voice cold as ice. "You lost me with your lies, Anita. You lost everything because of your greed. But this child will not suffer for your sins. You wanted wealth, but now you're left with nothing but pain and regret." With that, he walked into the stormy night, the baby safe in his arms, leaving Anita crumpled on the floor, alone, abandoned, and drowning in the consequences of her own deceit.